Welcome to the Prime Real Estate Network channel on YouTube. I'm your host, Mr. Prime Real Estate, Ric Davis.
And I'm your host, the Texas Real Estate King, LarryWBrooks.
Every week, the King and I will provide you exclusive access to our network of lenders, investors, and real estate professionals from both the commercial and residential real estate sectors.
Now, are you millionaire minded? Or maybe you're a millionaire in the making. Make sure that you subscribe so you can get connected to the network. And always remember, the Prime Real Estate Network, where millionaires are in the making.
Create wealth for generations.
What's up, Prime Real Estate Network listeners? It's your man, LarryWBrooks, a.k.a. the Texas Real Estate King. Hey, when you get a moment, go ahead and go over to shoplwb.com. You can see the Pure Hustle merchandise that we had over there, some of our newer items that we have in stock, and of course, I got all the books that I've authored. I'd love for your support. You have a great day.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Prime Real Estate Network Live. I'm your host, Ric Davis. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you this week, and I want to thank everyone who's checking us out live on YouTube and Facebook. Look, let's get involved in today's show. You can leave myself or the Texas Real Estate King a relevant real estate question in the comments section, and we may very well be able to get your question answered on today's show. We have a really exciting show planned for you all. I want to take a little time to introduce my co-host. He is not only the co-founder of Brooks & Davis Real Estate Firm, but he's a multi-time author, serial entrepreneur, the proud proprietor of the Pure Hustle clothing brand, and world traveler. I'd like to thank him for sitting in on the Prime Real Estate Network Live, and I'd like to introduce to the audience the Texas Real Estate King, Mr. Larry W. Brooks. Where is Mr. Brooks? Let's see. We're working to bring in Mr. Brooks, the Texas Real Estate King. We have a really exciting show. Today's show, we're going to talk about the great wealth transfer that we're currently experiencing here in the city of Houston and all over our great state of Texas. There is no time like today to get involved in the real estate market here in the city of Houston, either being a buyer, an investor, or if you currently own property, you could see about some opportunities to liquidate, sell some of those properties and reinvest here in the greater Houston community. We have a really exciting guest, and we also have the Texas Real Estate King, Mr. Larry W. Brooks, who will be signing in with us shortly. I want to take a little time to give a huge shout out to the team over at Brooks & Davis Real Estate Firm. If you were not had an opportunity to check it out, feel free to go to BND TV, man. It was a really inspiring State of the Union address. This meeting was led by the co-founder of Brooks & Davis Real Estate Firm, Mr. Michael G. Davis. He did an outstanding job of talking about not only our local real estate market, where we're going in the future. He also took some time to celebrate some of the successes that we've enjoyed as a brokerage at the beginning, the middle, and as we move forward in the year of 2025. So we'll be bringing in our guest and our host shortly. Hold on 1 second. See what we have going on here. Mm-hmm. While we work out everything with our guests, I want to take some time to bring to everyone's attention the Prime Real Estate Network Home Buyer Property of the Month. That home is currently on the market. How you doing?
Hey, listen, man, you know how it is, man. When you go live like this, every now and then, you
got a few technical things that take place, but we work through it, my man. No problem at all. That's what success looks like. We've been doing it for 17 years at Brooks and Davis, working through anything that comes about. So listen, we here today, Prime Real Estate Network doing this thing. I appreciate your introduction of a world traveler. You know, I did take an opportunity to step outside of the country for a few days on last week or over the last 2 weeks, feels like it. And man, I'm just happy to be back here in front of the guests, in front of the audience. Yeah. And hey, we're here, Rick.
Okay, now this is the thing. So, and you let me know, feel free to plead the fifth if necessary. But with your travel itinerary, not just domestically, but abroad,
yeah,
I wanted to ask you, do you have a top 3 as far as airline carriers?
Ooh.
Do you have a top 3 as far as rental car companies?
Okay.
And what does the Texas Real Estate King use as a differentiating factor when rating and setting up your top 3 list of airlines and rental car companies?
So here, I'll be perfectly honest, and this comes from just a guy that's well traveled, right? Like many people know my story. In 2013, I was gone traveling on a plane or traveling throughout the country for about 42 weeks out of the 52 weeks of the year. I was really having a great time. But through that time, I really enjoyed, that's my getaway. That's the one thing that I don't put a budget on is when it comes to traveling. So I'll say this, Rick. No, I do not have a top 3. I go through, I find the one that got the best rate for the flight. And here's why. They all do the exact same things. They all listen, they're gonna all have flights that's gonna be delayed. They're gonna all have flights that gotta be this and that. Like I've won from everyone from Spirit to Delta to United to American, everybody in between. At the end of the day, they all do the exact same thing. There's no trick book to figure out if one's going to be kinder or nicer than the next. That's not the case. For me, I pick the one that's going to serve me best at that particular time period. So if I'm going somewhere short and I don't need a bag, I can just drive a backpack. I'm going to jump on Spirit. It's going to always give me the best rate. If I'm going somewhere a little further, I may have to carry my bag. I'm going to do Southwest. It's going to give me an opportunity to have a few free check bags and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Just it's different things for different shows, but as far as automobile wise, typically when I go somewhere, I usually Uber unless I got to drive somewhere further once I get into that particular state or that particular country. This time I ended up in Italy. So, my mode of transportation, which is really pretty fly for me. I got to give you this one, Rick. This is good.
Tell me how it went.
This is my first time taking a taxi boat from the airport that pulled directly up in front of my hotel. Man, come on, man, tell me something.
So from the airport to the hotel was a boat ride.
Listen, man, I'm gonna post it on my IG later on this week or next week, whenever I get around to it. I'm never in a rush. But when I tell you it was one of the flyest things, man, listen, that was one of the flyest things I ever seen. First time, something like that. But for the most part, now, man, they all do the same thing, man. You just find the one that's gonna fit within the budget of the trip that you're gonna be going on.
They say in Italy, a lot of those cities are built of canals.
Yeah.
So with that being the case, I'm glad you were able to take advantage of the opportunity to have that experience.
Yeah. And I say this to people, man, it looks just like it looks on TV. It is, it looked like it looked on TV, like the movies and all of that stuff. You see the canals, they all small. And it was different. Here's one of the things that stood out to me though. I took photos in the same way that I would take a photo here in our city. I think the one thing that was so capturing to me is all of the photos came out as though I had a filter on them or something like that. And I just believe it's just because the skies, or it's not that the skies are clear, but I think there's just less smog that we can't even see with our own eyes. So that was one thing that stood out to me. I'm like, this is the same photo I would take any other time, but these photos all came out like postcards. They all look very, very nice. So I'll be sharing some of those again, like on social media at some point. No rush, you know how to go.
I do agree, because in my travels, especially the foreign countries, you do notice that the stargazing and being able to see stars in the sky is a little easier than when you're here, especially in a city the size of Houston, because of the amount of people, the amount of cars, that type of thing. So from that standpoint, I can't wait to see some of the pictures that you post when you do that photo dump now. Don't make us wait too long. You done talked about it on the pod, so you got about what, maybe 48 hours, man. We giving you a 48-hour clock on this, bro.
I got one more thing too, and this part was fun. So for most of the audience, they've heard me talk about how I don't cook. Like I haven't cooked in 19 years. Well, why did I go down there and take a cooking class? Baby, Chef Beezy back. That's all I'm saying. The chef is back.
Hey, look, now that's something that we got to do a live stream. We got to have a live stream of the Texas Real Estate King preparing his Italian omelets. As he was trained to do by an Italian chef.
Come on, man. No doubt about it.
I'm glad you were able to have safe travels. I'm glad you were able to have some great photo opportunities and time to build those bonds with those that are closest to you.
That's right.
Today's show, and for the past quarter to last couple of maybe 6 months, we've talked about how there's been a shift in our local real estate market from a seller's market to more of a buyer's market. Yeah. That's why I felt like today's episode would really be important for us to talk about the great wealth transfer. Mm-hmm. Someone like yourself that sat on different boards and been in different leadership positions in real estate, you've seen this tide of wealth transfer coming for the last maybe 4 to 5 years. We've talked about on this podcast when there first started to be that investment in the redevelopment of the Fifth Ward, that redevelopment of the 288 Medical Center area, that redevelopment near Third Ward. And I think now is the best time to let our audience know that that wealth transfer not only has started, but is in full bloom. That's why I'm really excited about today's guest. She's not only an expert in talking about luxury, but we'll also talk about what's going on in the multifamily real estate market here locally in Houston. So before we introduce this week's guest, Mr. Brooks, could you just share with our audience a little bit about our background with this week's guest and how you were able to gain her commitment to sit in and be interviewed on today's show?
Yeah, man. Well, so I first originally found this week's guest through social media, and I've just been watching her journey, watching how she really appreciates and buys into the process, her teaching and coaching that she does with her clients so that they're up and abreast on what's taking place, her knowledge about the industry itself and just what's going on, how it's taking place, and just her marketing of being able to put her expertise out there, man. And so someone like that is who we're always trying to put in front of the audience, put in front of other realtors so that they can get an idea of what success can look like in this business. And so just being able to have her on the show today to be able to talk about some of the things that she's been having going on, talk about her journey in this industry is just an exciting thing for me, man. So I'm excited to have her here today, excited to just kind of dive into some of the things that have allowed her to grow in this business, to become successful in this business. So that's where we are with it, brother.
Absolutely, man. Without any further ado, I'd like to introduce this week's guest. She is not only a luxury real estate specialist, but she's also a commercial lending expert. I want to thank her so much for sitting in on the Prime Real Estate Network Live. And I'd like to introduce to the audience, Miss Ashanti Lafayette. How are you?
Hello. I am great. Thank you guys for having me today. I'm super excited to be here. I'm feeling like family already. I'm ready for Larry to whip me up some omelets. I'm just like, I'm here for all the vibes today. So
thank you so much, Ashanti, for sitting in, and I thank you for your patience. It's not every week that we get Mr. Brooks back from an Italian vacation. So we wanted to give him a little creative license to enlighten our audience as far as what's been going on in the world of the Texas Real Estate King. But thank you so much for sitting in. First thing first, Ashanti, for the members of our audience that are being introduced to you for the first time, can you introduce yourself, talk a little bit about your real estate practice and how long you've been working in the real estate sector?
Absolutely. So I am Ashanti Lafayette. For the people who don't know me, on Instagram, I now go by Ashanti Sells Luxury. So follow me there. And just a little bit about my journey. I've been selling real estate for the last 5.5 years. I actually got my license right before the pandemic started. And so I had no idea that was happening. I was transitioning from a corporate underwriting background. So I had some knowledge just about business and how business worked. I worked with really large companies, would look at their 10Ks and did risk management essentially for them. And so kind of naturally transitioning into something like sales and real estate was not that difficult for me. And I know we said we were going to talk about it, but my family does have a real estate background. So that was something that has always been near and dear to me. So it was a transition that I think was just natural. And when I first got in, I said that I wanted to focus on two main categories, and that was me. I wanted people who look like me. Like, I wanted to sell to myself, every middle-aged kind of professional, young, educated Black woman. Like, I just wanted that to be a target focus. And I wanted empty nesters, because those were like my parents, the people who had children, they had larger homes, they needed to downsize, and I wanted them to kind of realize the equity in their home, which was something like I had never seen growing up. Like, most people I knew, they kind of lived in the same house forever, and they never really took advantage of like the equity and downsizing and using that money to invest in other things. So those are like my two primary focuses, and I've really taken that and utilized just the passion that I had for those places and pivoted into a lot of different areas throughout my career. So I now focus obviously on luxury, affordable luxury, because I don't just think luxury is a price point. I think it's really an experience that you give people. It's an opportunity to for them to realize returns in their investments so that they can live a lifestyle that they're interested in living. I also work with a lot of investors. I graduated from, I'm going to give a shout out to NARAB from their Developers Academy.
Represent.
Cohort, and I was very excited about that, because going through that Developers Academy helped me to understand like what our communities need. This is not just about like what we want to showcase and what people want, but it's like, what do these communities actually need? And I know we're talking about multifamily today. That was something we needed in the Houston market. It was something that we didn't have a lot of, and those opportunities, you know, you saw them a lot Midwest, you see it a lot up north, but in Houston, we really didn't have that. And so it did come and take on a huge surge, but I think it was because it was something that we needed. So I've just kind of taken the opportunity now to do what is needed in the community, whether it's luxury, whether it's affordable properties, whether it's multifamily. I kind of look for what people need, what their ultimate goals are, and kind of get them to that however we can get it.
No, I thank you so much for sharing.
And also, I commend you on having an ideal or somewhat of a blueprint of what you wanted to do and come in and execute as you've gotten into this industry. And then as you decided to scale, because one of the things I assure you is you're right. We did not have like a big market of multifamily or duplexes, I would say, or fourplexes and things like that. We had a few scattered here and there, but most of those were like 1952 and stuff like that when they were built. So you just seen a surge, especially right after the pandemic and the housing market started to not have as many opportunities involved in it. And so I think that's been a great surge. And I've been seeing, and you'll probably speak to this, but a lot of investors that are coming in are now kind of living on one side and then, you know, renting out the other side or Airbnb out the other side. I've been seeing all of these things really manifest over the last 3 to 4 years. That was not a thing at one point. So I just commend you on coming into the industry and finding your lane and just being a rock star and kind of helping people in that lane. So there you go, Rick.
Thank you.
No, I agree with everything Larry was saying, and it's great. And I want to help people, Ashanti, who have worked with you in the past or may have been introduced to you at a networking event, to have an idea of what's going on currently. One of the things Larry and I like to do with our audience is keep them informed as far as what's going on in the market that may be subtle or not so subtle. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we're really passionate about is informing our audience about the great wealth transfer. There are so many investment groups coming in and developing areas that were previously undeveloped, investing in areas that were previously not really invested in. So from the multifamily, the luxury market, what are you seeing as far as people that look like us getting involved in luxury building or multifamily development, and how accessible is the Houston market currently for somebody who may want to buy or invest and work with you, Ashanti, from that standpoint?
Okay, well, let's start with just kind of the luxury space. What we're seeing in the market now in the luxury space is opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. And I say that because right now, luxury is outperforming every other industry in Houston. And I think it's because people who have or in that space who are buying $1,000,000 or multi-million-dollar homes, they're using cash. So they're not as influenced by the interest rates and the higher interest rates. And so they're using the opportunity now where we're seeing a lot of builders do price reductions, and we're seeing a lot of opportunities because builders have to get off of this inventory. And so we're seeing those people come and take advantage of properties at a discount where they know they're going to see that future equity in that property once the market kind of resurges. So we're seeing that happen where people are like, hey, I know my money's safe. It's Houston, it's booming, it's on track to be the third largest city in America. We know our money's good here. So I think that you're seeing people, HAR, which I love our MLS here, they give us really good statistics about people all over the country, people all over the world that are searching Houston's MLS to come find opportunities. And there are tons of opportunities here for people in that space. Like I said, because you're not influenced by the interest rate so much, we're able to go in and get really good discounts on some of those properties that have been sitting when builders need to get off their inventory. So it's a good place to land some money, some cash if you're cash heavy. I know those opportunities. I know those zip codes, those areas. So if you're looking to park some money, Houston's a good place. I'm a good person to come park it with. And I know where those opportunities are. So that's what I say about the luxury, like purchase space. In the luxury rental space, we are seeing, people taking advantage, obviously, of renting property because it's not as affordable to purchase homes inner city. So they'll take renting, but I've seen a lot of people get really creative with it. I've seen people, I sold a home just in medical center, and I sold a home to she had just graduated from medical school. She purchased like one of those 4-story properties and rented out every single room in the property to other people who were working with her in the medical center. She's like other nurses, other doctors, like everybody. So they're offsetting their costs. So she became overnight, a landlord to 3 or 4 people, and she purchased a luxury home. And so you're seeing people get creative doing that. They're obviously doing short-term rental, Airbnb, or just kind of, living that city life without having to take on the price tag of a mortgage that they may not be able to afford. So in the rental space, in the luxury rental space, I'm seeing people kind of do that and get really creative on how they're renting, either subleasing or using rental arbitrage to kind of get those short-term rentals in. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that now Houston is charging some additional taxes and fees on that. So before you hop into it, definitely contact a real estate professional so you can understand what those margins will really look like after some of those fees have been assessed. So go ahead. Looked like you had a question. I told y'all I could talk. Go ahead.
No, thanks a lot. Now, I was just wondering, you talked about multifamily. You talked about our need. Can you talk about how on an investment side, people can help not only the community, but at the same time build their generational wealth egg for their family?
Absolutely. So with the huge duplex, fourplex surge in Houston, we're seeing most people take advantage of it by buying those properties as a primary residence. So that means they're purchasing it, they're living in one of those units, at least one of those units. And the reason why this has been such a huge, just kind of house hacking investment opportunity for people is because most people don't have $100,000 sitting around to put 20% down on a $500,000 duplex. It has now become so affordable because if you're using it as your primary residence, you now can put 3% down, 3.5% down if you're going FHA, 5% down in some instances, which is a lot more attainable for folks because they have I guess, access to those types of funds. So we're seeing people become landlords overnight and have a right out of the gate $400,000 property in their portfolio. That's huge. Like, I don't know many people who bought $400,000 primary properties as their first home.
Right.
And so you're seeing people get some $400,000 into their portfolio right out the gate, and they're a landlord. And if they choose to move on, they now have a cash flowing asset in their portfolio that isn't prohibiting them from going on and moving into a primary residence or into another multifamily unit. So that strategy has been huge for people, especially people of color. I mean, I love the community because we've not had those opportunities. We've been, with all of the different things that have happened just in the history of the country, we've not had a lot of these opportunities. And so now seeing that these opportunities are within reach for this community and for everyone really, but it's just so exciting to see. And I tell as many people who will listen about just the duplexes in Houston, the fourplexes, and the multifamily opportunities in general. And a lot of times, and this is a really important part, people have gotten denied for primary homes, single family homes, because of their debt to income or other things, and them being able to use that future rent from the other units. That's the thing that gets them over the hump. That has been the thing. I've seen people get denied for a $200,000 single family home and get approved for a $400,000 duplex. That's crazy. And so when you think about that being the case, you're like, oh my goodness, these people who couldn't get a house last year or 5 years ago now obviously have the opportunity to get an asset, be a landlord, and they can move on. So it's just been huge. It's been something great for the community. It's been something great for Houston and a lot of people who are relocating and investing in Houston.
No, I agree totally. That information, those gems that you shared, I urge everyone in the audience to go back, revisit that information, come back and rewatch this episode and take notes. Or they can just reach out to you directly on Instagram at Ashanti Sells Luxury. You mentioned earlier in the interview that your family background professionally is in real estate. What Larry and I have the pleasure of doing every week is when we interview business owners like yourself, we ask them, are there members of their family that may have served as an inspiration or a guiding light for them? Could you talk a little bit about your family's background in real estate, how that helped to shape how you look at the industry, and where do you attribute the passion and energy you have for service in the real estate space?
Okay, well, I'm from Alabama originally, Mobile, Alabama. Shout out to Mobile.
Shout out.
But actually, the neighborhood that I grew up in, my family developed. It was a very small pocket of Pritchard, Alabama. If anybody knows anything about Mobile, Pritchard is a nice little pocket of whatever we want to call it, glory in Mobile. And we had a small section of Pritchard where my family bought land and developed the land and built what I would consider at that time like affordable luxury homes in the 90s. And it was a pocket of middle class Black families that didn't want to move out to the suburbs. We kind of wanted to stay true to where we were and who we were in that environment and neighborhood. But we built what I would consider a little pocket of excellence. And I always jokingly say, and I have a best friend who her mom says I was a real estate agent at 9 years old, because she says I sold them their first home. And it was because, it was my family's neighborhood. I'm walking outside. I see a family going to look at a house. I saw they had a daughter that was my age. I'm like, hey, can she come outside and play? And they're like, sold. Like, you got it sold. Like, we're good. And I'm like, hey, now, and we're still best friends to this day. And so I think that just for me, actually seeing that in real time, a small middle class small town family coming, purchasing land, building what I would consider just like an excellent representation of just middle class Black excellence in what others would say was the hood. They were like, oh, this is the hood. We don't want any parts of it. And they built that in that area. And now people to this day like have lived there, haven't moved for the last 30, 40 years. That's just something that you can't, I couldn't see that growing up and not think that I could do whatever I wanted to do in this world of real estate. And I saw the opportunities that it afforded my family, and the people who had invested in that small area. I mean, those people saw their homes return 2, 3, 4 times over. So it's something that I saw in real time. My dad's an engineer. He was one of the builders kind of in that, and just kind of seeing the blueprints coming home from elementary school laid out on the table. It was fascinating to me. And now to be able to kind of take the torch and take it just a different step further and introduce it to my children, and to have them, I mean, my children, they're at open houses with me, passing out flyers and candy. And it's really that legacy that people talk about, and being able to recreate that in a real way, because it's not just money. Leaving people money is leaving them passion and purpose, because you can leave them money, but if they're not going to do anything with it, it dies when, that money dries up. And so I think for me, I saw something as a young child that kind of stayed with me forever.
Ashanti, one of the things
no, please, Larry, go ahead.
One of the things I want to ask it makes me speechless, you being able to say that and being able to see things like that, because that does make a big difference. Because a lot of times what we see is what we be, what we become. Like if we can see it, we feel like we can envision it, we can touch it. So you being able to see that at such a young age is amazing. So I got a random question, a random thought.
Okay.
So what is it that so someone like yourself that saw it, because I didn't see it. I didn't get exposed to real estate until I was in college, and when I did, my eyes was like this, and I've been doing it the last 25 years. And much like yourself, after I got into this business, I started to go into these rooms. There'd be 400 people, and 4 people be people that look like us. So I've always had a passion for wanting more people that look like us to be in this industry, become successful in this industry, and do the amazing things like you're doing in this industry. And so when I go into rooms now and see that number it's still not where it needs to be, but that it's a little bit more color added to it, I'm always excited, because I was always on the front line and just kind of like pushing us forward in this. So my random question is what do you think about, reality real estate TV shows? Like, are those things that you think or kind of helping move the momentum forward, or they're too falsely led? Like, what are your thoughts? Because as the young person, you actually saw people doing things that look like us in the real estate space. So like when you see these shows nowadays, what are your thoughts on those? Or do they push the industry forward, or what are your thoughts?
I think honestly, my thought is we got to meet people where they are. And if people are on the couch watching reality TV, even if they catch one gem from it because it was there in front of their face, I think it's good. Like I'm a proponent of it being everywhere. Like even in the churches, like when they're having things, like if the people are at the church, real estate needs to be at the church. If the people are, at the schools, they need to be. If the people are watching TV, reality TV, I think that there's still gems, even in the drama and the theatrics of what reality TV is. I think there's still gems there. And I think it does still showcase to people what it could really be for them. And so I think that, as long as people see it, they can believe it. And so meeting them where they are, I don't see a problem in it.
Okay, good. And I was specifically talking about reality real estate shows, because we have so many of them now that you submitted this. So I just wanted to see how someone that saw this at a young age, what that thought was. So thank you for sharing.
I wanted to ask you this, and I want to thank you so much. You've been more than generous with your time. Larry and I joke about how we have our show on Thursdays, and that's usually getaway day for every business owner. If you're traveling this weekend, usually we book all those flights on Thursday afternoons. So thank you so much for sitting in. But I want to ask you this question in closing, because you did mention how from time to time you'll have kids with you at open houses and things of that nature. For the members of our audience that would like to meet you, greet you, interact with you, Ms. Lafayette, when will that opportunity present itself? Will you be making any appearances or headlining any networking events in the near future?
Well, I don't have a schedule for it yet, but I will be having what I would like to say is for my clients, just kind of a client appreciation coming this fall. And so it's a place where I want to obviously, thank my past clients, but also introduce myself to potential new clients. So that information will be out early fall for everyone. I'll put it on all of my social media platforms, my email blast, all of those things, shared to people who I've connected with, networked with. You guys will obviously be invited, so you can invite your audience. But that is probably the nearest time where I'll be for people to come, because I'm very casual in my approach. I always say that I'm not like your salesy real estate agent. I'm not going to try to sell you something that I wouldn't sell to my grandma. I really am about like educating people, because once I show you what it can be, I'm not gonna have to sell anything. I'm not gonna have to I'm not gonna have to sell anything to you, because you're gonna want it, you're gonna desire it and crave it. So it's really just an opportunity for people to trust me, to get to know me, so that they can understand, the people that I work with, the people who I connect them with will also be people who are advocating and champions for them. So, everybody does want to make money. It's a great industry to make money, but it's also about the relationships that you can build and have long-term, just for not just this business, for whatever business you decide to go into in the future. So those relationships are huge. I love the fact that I've met so many people working in real estate, people I would have never imagined meeting. It's been a blessing.
Thank you so much, man. Your story is so captivating, and at the same time makes your success trail seem so clear for everyone who not only have known you in the past, but people who are meeting you for the first time. And I want to urge all the young people that hear this interview, take Ms. Lafayette's advice, go out, get around real estate people, because I think you'll be enlightened not only to the business, but at the same time, it can motivate you to want to serve the public in a way that can help to change lives, kind of like your parents did when they were developing the neighborhood that you grew up in. I want to thank you so much for your time. Ms. Lafayette, are there any final words of inspiration that you have for the audience that you may want to share, as far as things that they can look forward to, or something that somebody shared with you that kind of motivates you to move forward and keep building?
Well, I think probably in this market, the best thing I can tell other real estate professionals and people who are wanting to jump into real estate investing is like, don't be afraid to pivot. Like, I know we all have a plan and what we think this should look like and what it should be, but there's opportunities coming from everywhere. The reason I even, and I'll shameless plug, got into commercial lending is because, the real estate market for retail buyers had kind of gotten slow. So being able to leverage just kind of my knowledge of financing in that industry and give it to my investor clients and kind of create a full comprehensive package for them on, like, with contractors and how you can get into fix and flips and how you can get money to do these projects. That has been the thing that has sustained me through an otherwise difficult, tricky market. So don't be afraid to pivot. I love luxury. I love the luxury space, but every home isn't going to be a luxury home. And so don't get so caught up in what social media says it's supposed to look like and what other people around you say it's supposed to look like. Like, do what's true to you and, create opportunities. And even when there's not opportunities, go and create an opportunity, because there are always opportunities. So I'll leave y'all with that.
Thank you so much, Queen. It's been an honor and a pleasure to have you on the show. Larry and I are indebted to you for not only your service to the community, but taking time out of your schedule to sit in. Please keep us up to date as everything that's going on with not only yourself, but your real estate movement. You always have a seat here with us, Queen. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, man, great show, Mr. Brooks, man. Outstanding guest. I hope our audience take so much from the interview, implement some of the gems that Ms. Lafayette shared. And in closing, Mr. Brooks, was there anything about the interview that stood out to you that will stick with you after and as we move forward?
Being in this industry so long, I understand when I see someone that carries the knowledge and the compassion that it takes to be successful in this. but not only be successful, but the willingness to help people and walk people through the process, right? You know, and it's kind of like she said, you don't have to sell yourself when you're able to give the knowledge or be able to bring people into your expertise. So, you know, I commend her on being able to do that. That's the thing that stood out most to me. And I definitely can continue to see her rising all the way to the top of this industry, knocking it out the ballpark. And for our audience out there that are looking for some assistance, like-mindedness, then definitely feel free to reach out and just see if you can get some guidance, see if you can get an opportunity to be helped in that way. So it was a great show.
Absolutely, man. On behalf of myself, Ric Davis, and the Texas Real Estate King, Mr. Larry W. Brooks, we want to thank Miss Ashanti Lafayette for sitting in on the show. We want to thank everyone in the audience for tuning in. If you're in the greater Houston area and you want to learn more about real estate or being a real estate professional, you can visit us at the Brooks and Davis Education and Training Center at 2600 South Loop West, Suite 310 in Houston, Texas. Until next Thursday in the noon hour, everyone in the Prime Real Estate Network audience, please be safe and be blessed.
Be blessed.